Zendikar Rising is upon us, meaning that Standard is now in a wild place with a lot of land ramp. So that's what today's video is going to be about. That's right, we are going through every single piece of land ramp in Standard and evaluating it. If it nets more lands onto the battlefield, it's included. These cards will be evaluated in 3 sections for a total of 10 points. Firstly, the points are going to depend on if the land enters the battlefield tapped or untapped, which is going to be 2 points for untapped and only 1 for tapped. Then is going to be the mana per land on. Anything that costs Rampant Growth's 2 mana for a land on the battlefield gets an average 2 points. Anything lower in mana gets 3 points, and anything higher in mana only gets 1 point. Unless it's awful, then it gets 0. Finally, these land ramp pieces get points for synergy, versatility, and breakability, which will combine to 5 points for a total score out of 10. This scale is based around versatility of land ramp, because cards that can do more than just ramp are incredible. However, it's worth noting that sometimes the number of lands something can ramp you is synergy and versatility in itself, with Landfall or Crucible of Worlds. So what will the best ramp spell in Standard be? Let's find out, even though I think a lot of you already know. Here we are alphabetically, starting with a bit of a stretch, Auspicious Starrix. This is a type of ramp due to the fact that it gets permanents at random onto the battlefield with Mutate, meaning that if this was just mutated, you should be getting about 2/5 of a land. So I wouldn't play this as just a ramp card, but if this isn't a 5 for synergy and versatility, I don't know what is, because this is one of the best Mutate cards ever. But as for price you're paying per land, this first one's going to get a 2, because if you do play it with the Mutate cost, it only costs 5 mana for a 6/6, which is already a good deal, you're breaking even. So lands on top is a great deal in addition, if the odds were in our favor to actually get lands off this. But chances are you won't, at first at least, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does keep me from rating this higher for ramp. The fact that you will later get lands is great. Those lands do not enter tapped most of the time, so that's a 1.5 out of 2 there, bringing this total to an 8.5 out of 10, and incredibly strong versatility and synergy with this card. Next up is Azuza, Lost But Seeking, which is going to need a bit of help to get lands onto the battlefield, but for just 1.5 mana, because of the 1/2 power and toughness, it is going to ramp us for 2 lands a turn, assuming we have them in hand, which is 1 possible untapped land per 3/4 of a mana every turn. Or in other words, incredibly powerful. So in terms of untapped, I'm going to give Azuza a 2, and in synergy, I'm going to give Azuza a 4, because it's great with Crucible of Worlds and any fetch land. Because that's a recipe for success in and of itself, I have to give it there. Plus, the 3 on land value rounds us out to be a 9 out of 10, which is unsurprising for a card of this caliber. Right off the bat, Beanstalk Giant is going to lose points on its ramp spell being 3 mana, giving it just 1 point in that category as this giant lumbers through our evaluation. But it is going to make up a little bit in the versatility section. A creature on top of a ramp spell, plus synergy with a non-giant board wipe seems like a good 4 out of 5. The land enters the battlefield tapped, unfortunately, which puts this on our ramp scale at a solid 6 out of 10, above average. Chulane, Teller of Tales, is going to be almost impossible to beat in versatility, because drawing cards and ramping is pretty versatile to me. 5 out of 5 there. I'd be willing to bet that most lands are going to enter the battlefield untapped because of the number of cards you have in your hand, so that's a pretty simple 2 out of 2. However, when it comes to the price per land, we're going to have to do some guesswork. If you were to play this in a deck of Memnites, then this card could get many lands onto the battlefield. But if you were to theoretically play it normally and have it around for 1 turn, with 6 mana available before it's killed, I don't think that's outrageous. Plus, if you're in Bant, I also don't think it's crazy to have enough cards at your disposal to be playing a land off of each Chulane trigger. So with 6 mana, 1 to 2 creatures, and 1 to 2 lands onto the battlefield seems fair. So you're essentially paying 3 mana for a 2/4, and then another 2 mana down as an investment. And 1 to 2 lands onto the battlefield for 2 mana per turn seems worthy of a 2.5, bringing Chulane to a solid and respectable 9.5 out of 10, at least in a vacuum. The only reason that this did not get a 10 out of 10 is that in actuality, this card may just get killed and this scale is unable to account for things like that. Cultivate is a lot simpler to evaluate because it's just Lay of the Land strapped right onto the back of a Rampant Growth, which is the most 2 we could get out of the price per land. With versatility, the value will get this at a 2 out of 5 because it does fetch a land to hand, which can be good to make sure you hit your land drop, but it really just fetches for lands that enter tapped. So this absolute staple of a card is only going to get a 5 out of 10, which is either a testament to the crazy world of power creep or how good cards can be when they are surrounded by synergy. Dryad of the Ilysian Grove. Azuza clone and combo enabler for Last Stand, this card is not only powerful in terms of ramp, but synergy, and for Last Stand as a ceiling alone, this deserves a 5, because let's be honest, having all basic land types is broken. Cabal Coffers is just the start. With Dryad, these lands do enter untapped as long as the lands you play do, so if Azuza gets a 2, so does this guy. And in terms of playing lands, you're paying no mana for any, because Dryad of the Ilysian Grove is a fair 2/4 for 3. So with a 3 out of 3, Dryad of the Ilysian Grove is the very first 10 out of 10 ramp card. Escape to the Wilds is not only a great temporary card draw source, but also ramp. When you're getting 5 cards, you're bound to have a land that enters untapped, so that's a 2, and I'm going to have to give this a 2 for how much you pay per land, because it's so difficult to put a cost on temporary card draw. Sorcery synergies exist, but so do land synergies. So I'm gonna have to give this ramp spell an average 2.5 out of 5 for synergy, just because of double vision helping it out. That brings this card to a nice 6.5 out of 10. Fertilid is pretty cool because it's not only a ramp spell, but a creature with +1/+1 counters. So Voral of the Hulklade can be crazy with a card like this. So as far as synergy and versatility goes, this is a 5 out of 5. But lands enter tapped, and you have to pay a +1/+1 counter and 2 mana, so I can only reward a 1.5 out of 3 here for land cost. Despite strong synergy, we're 7.5 out of 10 for this ramp card. Genesis Ultimatum is very capable of ramping us out, and that makes it quite difficult to evaluate, because it's going to get us random things for free. But this card almost always breaks even in terms of mana, which I can vouch for after playing it myself, at least for a format like Commander. But what about Standard? And given that many players have 2/5 of their decks as land, this is expected to at least get you 2 lands. With permanents, this will get a combined 4.5 for land cost and untapped, because it's variants, but chances are you're going to get your value back in those categories. In terms of synergy, this card can also be broken easily with double vision. It's only as versatile as your deck. So I'll give this card a 3.5 out of 5 in synergy, versatility, again, because it's only as versatile or as good as your deck is. This makes an 8 out of 10 for ramp. Migration Path is more than just a Rampant Growth. It's double Rampant Growth, with more. 2 mana per land is definitely a 2, and tapped lands is a 1. Cycling is some solid versatility, so I'll give it an above average 3. It does more than a Lay of the Land, but isn't incredible. This is a simple, great card, but as this scale flavors versatility, 6 out of 10 is our final rating. Migratory Greathorn is next up, and it is another mutate card. For versatility, this is going to get us lands guaranteed and a creature to attack with, but they're going to enter tapped. The lands cost almost nothing if we have a creature, but because we do need a non-human creature, the effect isn't as crazy as Auspicious Starrix. Yes, Auspicious Starrix needs a non-human creature as well, but it also has more of a ceiling. So that makes a 3.5 out of 5. Mutate triggers and a help for creatures is a lot of versatility, but still, this only gets us lands. That rounds this card out to a nice 7 out of 10. This could give us a solid mutate trigger, but not great for ramp itself. Murasa Rootgrazer might not guarantee extra lands, but that doesn't mean that the cap on this card isn't incredible. It's not only an attacker with vigilance, but it's also ramp. So if you're in a deck with a Chulane-like card draw engine where you should be able to frequently have a land in hand to play, then this is repeatable, powerful Rampant Growth. As far as synergy goes, that second ability has a lot of potential. The creature type is okay as well, which makes this a landfall engine with a bit more potential for a solid 3.5 out of 5. That gives this card a confident 8.5 out of a possible 10. Omen of the Hunt is ramp, but for a lot more mana than I or most players want to spend. So without extra explanation, because I don't think it's necessary, this is going to get a 1 for land ramp cost. The land enters tapped, so that's a 1. Yes, you can sacrifice this to Scry, which is almost the definition of versatility, but this is only going to get a 4 because of the flash synergies in standard at the moment, so this is getting a 4 out of 5. Omen of the Hunt is scoring a 6 out of 10, so I wouldn't be playing this as just ramp unless you have some enchantment or flash synergies. Parcelbeaast is yet another mutate card with immense potential because it can pay 1 mana and draw a card. Well, really, it's much better than drawing a card because you can pay 1 for the shot at getting a land. But between Scry and the guaranteed draw, I will give this card a 2.5. Lands probably enter untapped, which is a 2, and the synergy is there with the top of the library manipulation and especially mutate. But because this doesn't need mutate, it is a creature that can definitely block, and we don't have to reveal the card that we draw. That gets this a 4.5 out of 5, only missing the mark because it's a bit slow, which reduces the effects of some combos. That rounds us out to a 9 out of 10 and a quite impressive card. Roiling Regrowth may be simple, but it's got potential in lands matter decks. You pay 3 mana for 1 more land, which may be a 1 for cost, but that doesn't mean that it can't be good, because there are 2 separate lands, which is a bonus for synergy entering the battlefield. The word sacrifice excites any Corvold player, and the 2 lands entering elevate this card to a new height, only to have it landfall back down to a 4.5 out of 5. It's honestly quite difficult to put these cards on a scale so dominated by synergy, but it's easier when the lands enter tapped, because then I don't have to worry about putting this one too high, because a 6.5 out of 10 will suffice. Scale the Heights is a brand new card, but that shouldn't stop it from instantly being the card of the week, because this card is practically the definition of versatile. It's card draw, ramp, counter synergy, and life gain. The category of versatility was created, it seems, for a card like this, and such it is going to get a 5 out of 5. Now I know this card might not be a game-changing standard ramp card, but it does seem incredible for slower formats, especially considering that it allows you to play an additional land, not put one from your hand into play. This means that you could play a double-faced land, and also means that you choose the land you put into play. It could enter tapped, but given that you're drawing a card, I'm going to give this the 2 for untapped. But on mana analysis, this is going to get a little bit complicated. This card is Explore, which is a 2-mana spell, plus a version of Vastwood Fortification stapled on top without the ability to be played as a land, or at instant speed, so you can even count that as half a mana if you wanted. But this card also has half of a Sacred Nectar added on top just for extra value. Not that Sacred Nectar is even playable. So yeah, this is a lot of things on one card, and in my opinion deserves a 3 for the price per land, due to the fact that this not only allows you to play an extra land, but lets you draw a card, and the land costs about 1 mana. That gives this dinky little card a highly respectable comparative 10 out of 10. I'm making this video and I still surprise myself. Solemn Simulacrum for years has been a commander staple as a love child of rampant growth and a ruined servitor that's been using performance-enhancing drugs. This is not only a great way to get a land on tapped, but it's great in a deck like Teysa Karlov, and can be cast for free in a deck like Saheeli the Gifted. This is a lot of potential synergy, like a lot of these cards, and thus we'll get a 5 out of 5 for versatility of ramp, card draw, and a creature in 1. The land enters tapped, unfortunately, and you have to pay the full 2 mana to get your land, but that doesn't keep this from being playable in a lot of decks. It does, however, keep this card from getting a perfect score, and it will end with an 8 out of 10, so not bad at all. Song of Creation. The card I think was criminally underplayed in the context of Gate Colossus and the Gates deck, but is one of the cards in Standard with the most potential. You get to draw a large amount of cards and play lands. It strolls right into the hands of escape mechanics and graveyard decks everywhere. Azuza could be in a deck where all lands are basics, but a 3-color card is inherently going to play some Triomes or even life gain lands, which would be important if it mattered, but given that you draw 2 cards every time you cast a spell, this is getting the full 2. And price per land is below average in terms of mana cost because this card easily pays for itself with card draw. Even if you play this card and cast only one spell and then play an additional land, you've already broken even. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 3 on this front because in the worst circumstance you lose your hand. And in the best, you have enough cards to do whatever you want every turn. That gives this card a creative 9 out of 10. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, is nothing short of impressively expensive in terms of monetary value, and nothing short of impressive in practice. I'm going to straight up give Uro a 10 before even diving into this card deeper, because it has aggressive ramp, card draw, recursion, lands, untapped, high power and toughness, and life gain. So basically a combination of the best parts of each card we've talked about thus far. Vastwood Surge continues a pattern in Zendikar Rising of having better versions of already good cards, and Vastwood Surge is one of them. Explosive Vegetation is a knockoff here, and I'll say goodbye to it gladly in favor of this card. This is 2 mana per land and gives you 2 lands, so it's right there to get a 2. The lands enter tapped, so that itself is a 1, but that leaves the final category to the flexibility of this card. It has Kicker, which can give some counters out, so this is a pretty simple card with a pretty simple kicker. So it's going to get a 3 out of 5 for versatility because it can do more than just ramp, but in the grand context of all of these cards, not much. This brings the card surging to a 6 out of 10. That concludes this lengthy video with all the land ramp cards in Standard at the moment. There's a lot of them, and each have their own synergistic upsides, so hopefully this video helped you all in some sort of way. And if you're going to buy any of these cards, then please do so using the tcgplayer.com affiliate link below, because you can get cards at great prices and for nothing extra to support the channel. A subscription would be amazing, because it would be my honor to have someone like you subscribed to this channel. Yes, you. If you want to see one of these videos for non-land ramp, then let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great